launches new app to secure national identification number NIN.
Together, we are building a nation where every identity counts and every citizen must matter.
President Bola Tinubu decorates newly appointed service chiefs following confirmation by National Assembly.
Eight additional political parties likely to be registered, INEC confirms.
And then good morning, Nigeria. Today we shall focus on investment models in health manufacturing and financing.
Well, Henry, I'm not sure if you were there, but growing up, we often heard that a healthy nation is a wealthy one. All right? And back then, it sounded like just another saying. Today, that phrase holds a much deeper meaning for me.
What do you mean by you're not sure if I was there?
Because I wasn't where you were.
Okay. Anyways, Victor, I totally agree with you anyway. And, you know, when I was also much younger, I doubt if you were there, you know, we also used to say the same thing. Now, a country like ours needs healthy people to drive productivity and development. But here's the big question. Without strong health infrastructure, can that really happen?
Well, that's a question we can't ignore. Now, across the world, countries are investing in health infrastructure and financing to build more resilient systems.
And for Nigeria, the conversation about health infrastructure has gone beyond rhetoric to a call to action. There's growing clamor for sustainable investment and stronger strategies to build a robust healthcare manufacturing ecosystem.
Precisely, and that's why the agenda is already taking shape. The European Union and ECOWAS, in partnership with the Presidential Initiative for Unlocking the Healthcare Value Chain, PVAC, and the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, NIPRD, hosted a high-level health investment forum here in Abuja on Thursday, October 30, 2025.
Yeah, you said it like that was like some years ago. That's just yesterday. Now, one of the big goals of that forum was to promote how health products can be produced, distributed, and assessed more efficiently, both within Nigeria and across the ECOWAS region.
It was a gathering of minds, government officials, industry leaders, development partners, and investors were just some of the participants. Now, the forum marked a new chapter in advancing Nigeria's health security, boosting local pharmaceutical manufacturing, and strengthening sexual and reproductive health rights. So today on Good Morning Nigeria, we'll be exploring the possibilities of Made in Nigeria and Made for Health. I am Victor Azo. This is Good Morning Nigeria.
Fantastic. That's a key priority, honestly. This truly spells a new dawn for the health sector and the pharmaceutical ecosystem. In addition to that, the federal government, in partnership with the European Union and ECOWAS, signed 3 landmark agreements after the forum. Now, we'll be hosting guests from different sectors as we discuss investment models in health manufacturing and financing. I'm Yanwe John. Many thanks for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria. In the course of the program, we'll bring you the newspaper review, and that's when Chukwudi Okolie Ugbaja joins us. But for now, let's have the morning news. I hope it's comforting because the presenter is Comfort Amodu. Comfort, good morning to you.
Bring us.
Good morning. We have quite some comforting news. Well, federal government has launched a new app to secure the national identification number of Nigerians and to ensure easy identification and authentication. President Bola Tinubu launched the app created by the National Identity Management Commission, NMC.
I will be issuing a directive to all MDAs to adopt the NIN Auth for all digital and biometric verification, services to strengthen security, safeguard data integrity, and promote trusted information and exchange.
President Bola Tinubu has tasked the new service chiefs to initiate proactive measures in checking the existing and evolving security challenges in the country, saying that Nigeria is in a hurry to celebrate a victory over enemies of state. President Tinubu gave the charge at the investiture and decoration ceremony of the new service chiefs in the council chamber of the State House.
Decisive and proactive. Let us smash the new snakes right in the head. I charge you, as the head of our nation's armed forces, to carry out your duties with patriotic zeal. Nigerians expect result.
And the government is intensifying efforts to actualize the implementation of the national single window at the nation's ports by 2026. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated these during the second meeting of the Ports and Customs Efficiency Committee at the Presidential Villa.
We spoke extensively around how to improve the entire ecosystem around the ports and customs as a whole, importation, exportation of goods, helping Nigeria truly realize the potential economic dividends that could come out of, having a stronger or better system in place. So I guess that was a summary of it.
Well, ahead of the 2027 election, INEC may register additional 8 political parties, bringing the total number of political parties in Nigeria to 27. At a meeting by the electoral management body, 8 out of the 14 pre-qualified associations successfully completed the upload of all necessary information and documentation, and the ones that have uploaded are the All Democratic Alliance, ADA, and Citizens Democratic Alliance, CDA, Abundance Social Party, ASP, African Alliance Party, AAP, and Democratic Leadership Alliance, DLA, Green Future Party, GFP, and National Democratic Party, NDP, and People's Freedom Party, PFP. INEC National Commissioner for Information Sam Olumekon notes that the next step in the registration process is the detailed assessment and verification of the information and documents submitted by each association. Away from that, the Nigerian Medical Association has announced plans to begin monthly psychiatric evaluation for all inmates across Nigeria's correctional facilities from November 2025. And the first Vice President of the association, Dr. Benjamin, made this known during a visit to the Nigerian Correctional Service headquarters in Abuja, and a visit that also featured the donation of reusable sanitary pads for all female inmates nationwide, accompanied by producers of the sanitary pads. He said this initiative is part of a broader effort to promote mental health, restore dignity, and ensure no inmate is left behind in access to care. Those are the news highlights at this time. Stay tuned for Good Morning Nigeria with Ian Rejan and Victor Azu.
The Renewed Hope Initiative RHI presents the RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow. This national competition is in 3 categories. The household category is a tree planting competition amongst 11 frontline states in northern Nigeria. Each participating household in Adamawa, Borno, Bauchi, Gombe, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto, Yobe, and Zamfara states will plant a minimum of 1 tree to qualify, with a video evidence of before and after the tree planting exercise. 20 million naira will be awarded to the best household. Submission deadline is 20th December 2026. Community category will see local governments, local communities, schools, and NGOs reclaim and transform degraded or abandoned areas such as dump sites, landfills, parks, and their likes into green, vibrant gardens, parks, and eco-friendly spaces. 50 million naira will be awarded to the overall best community group. Deadline for submission is 15th July 2026. State category will have all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, excluding Enugu State, have a chance to address the growing threats to environmental sustainability and cleanliness. States will be judged based on the number of trees planted on major roads and inner streets and how clean they are. 100 million naira will be awarded to the best performing state. Already, Enugu State has 100 million naira for being RHI's model green state due to its greenery and cleanliness. Video evidence must be submitted by participating states on or before 20th December 2026. All entries must be directed to RHI Office, State House, Abuja, or email rhi.greenchallenge@statehouse.gov.ng. RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow.
Nivea Black and White Deodorant, now with 72-hour protection. But what does that mean? 3 cities in 3 days and no fear of sweat and odor. 120 dances with skin as smooth as the moves. Sweat, stain, and odor protection. Nivea Black and White Deodorant. Skin is for embracing life. Nivea is for skin.
Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. So, no need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish your kids.
And the National Productivity Order of Merit Award goes to...
The only tomato paste manufacturer to win the National Productivity Order of Merit Award by the Federal Government of Nigeria, endorsed by the Association of Private Medical Practitioners of Nigeria. This is an evidence of 100% natural goodness. Eat healthy to live longer. Buy now and enjoy up to 20% discount.
Tomato paste, the taste of Nigeria.
You have no better friend and partner than Nigeria. Let this unveiling today be a call to conscience. Let our practitioners hold the line of truth. To the media, please inform with integrity and with a deep sense of patriotism. To our public officers, communicate with transparency. To citizens, please let us speak with empathy. Let us come together to become the voice of responsibility, the voice of the world that heals division, that inspires hope and drives development.
All right, thank you for staying with us. Up next on the program is Newspaper Review.
Chukwudi Okoli Ogbaja is here with us. Good morning to you, sir. Welcome.
Good morning, Ere. How are you doing?
Very well.
It was a little foggy as we were driving down here. You know, in the absence of rain, fog clears the sky for the Hamatan to come into town. You know, I know you didn't know some of these.
No, I don't know.
You're not into farming, so you don't track the elements. We do. Hello, Victor.
Good morning. Good morning. I've told you to stop introducing yourself to me as a farmer, not until I eat something from your farm. Good to see you anyway.
You'll wait forever.
That's not a good one. Anyways, let's see what the papers have. We begin with the Nigerian pilot this morning, and it leads with a bold headline with red ink, and it says, "No more excuses." Tinubu charges new service chiefs to tackle insecurity headlong without excuses, urges them to approach their assignments with highest level of patriotism and dedication, describes their decoration as renewed commitment to ensure peace, security of Nigerians. Of course, so much more as regards that. Page 8 has all of that. Above that lead story, just below the masthead, 5 Enugu reps dump PDP for APC. Details on page 5. Nigeria's pension assets hit over 25 trillion naira, says Pencom. Interesting. And below the lead story this morning, we have 5 died, 2 injured in Ondo road crash. Not a good one. That can be found on page 7. AEDC begins phase load management of electricity in FCT. 1 dead, 8 injured as another building collapses in Lagos. Wow, this is becoming too many. And on health, Lassa fever kills 1 as Benue government begins surveillance of people in contact with victim. Tinubu approves 15% fuel diesel import tariff. And finally, Anambra Guba, NSCDC deploys 10,250 operatives to enhance security. That's on page 5. Let's see what the blueprint is offering this morning. The blueprint, of course, also leads with the mandates to the service chiefs. It says, "We expect results, not excuses," Tinubu tells new service chiefs. Above that, a very interesting caption here. I'm sure you want to also hear this. Natasha invites Akpabio orders to project commissioning in Kogi. Details on page 7. All right, you want to look out for that. Very interesting read, I tell you. Why Tinubu approved 15% import duty on petrol and diesel is also right here. And 5 PDP, 1 Labour Party rep defect to APC. Why mental illness, suicide cases are rampant in Nigeria. That's according to Redon. And finally, SEC partners CBN, EFCC on illicit digital wallets. All right, Victor.
Thank you, Ian Ray. I have the Leadership Friday. And let's begin just inside the nameplate. And sports. Saudi Arabia turned down Messi's stint ahead of 2026 World Cup, says official. That's stories on page 30. And below the nameplate, Yilwada, Governor Mbah Storm House as 6 reps join ruling party. That's on page 19. And to the major headline, refiners hail Tinubu's imposition of 15% duty on imported petrol, diesel, is on page 6. And the last set of stories here, in politics, Bauchi Assembly writes Senate, 6 creation of 29 new councils. And 9 die in Lagos Ondo accidents is on page 9. Commission enhances staff capacity ahead of 2026 Hajj. Details on page 29. Senate confirms Bernard Doro as Humanitarian Affairs Minister, page 28. And President to service chiefs, Nigerians want results, not excuses. It's on page 28. And finally, Army Chief redeploys senior officers, appoints others in shakeup. You get details of that on page 7. Chukode.
Whether Saudi Arabia turned down or turns down a Messi stint ahead of the World Cup, Messi will remain La Pulga Atomica. That's the fly. The fly that gets in your drink. Messi is Messi, whatever happens. Don't give me R7, whatever you call the other.
CR7.
CR7.
The big man.
Yes, I know. You will support him if only to oppose Chukudi. Anyway, 15% imposition of import duty ad valorem by the president. Some are saying it will protect local refiners, which is true. Some are saying it's going to lead to prices going up. Actually, Daily Sketch has something in the direction of this is going to push up fuel prices. The question Chukudi asks is, don't we have enough fuel coming from local refining? Must we import? That said, if we are not able to. When I say we are not able to, I'm talking about the few model refiners around, and Dangote, of course, the behemoth on the scene, so to speak. If we are, look, if Dangote were an Indian citizen and he established a refinery, Indian government would almost automatically say that you don't buy foreign fuel, you buy from this person. They are that self-promoting and self-preserving. We say it's free market, everybody has a right to. I agree. But there are certain statements you make, particularly in a developing country like Nigeria, to show that we can self-support, self-service and all that. So I think the imposition is good. It's going to get more money for government, for those who insist on importing, But I am thinking that if we can supply the fuel locally, why don't we make a nationalistic statement by buying from ourselves? That's what I
think those who have, spoken to the contrary cite the likelihood of monopoly, and that monopoly ultimately will drive up prices. So those for have arguments, those against have arguments. I think that's what it is.
Yes, Victor, you have a point. But remember that we listened to all manner of ridicule just before, immediately Dangote commissioned his inaugurated the refinery. Some were even saying that Dangote fuel was inferior to their own fuel. Later we found out who was telling a lie. That's talking about sulfur content and all that. I think that we should push into the backyard where it belongs all these bickerings, which are usually carried out to foster or to feather individual nests. We think of pecuniary benefits and not citizen welfare in this country. And it's about time we showed real patriotism, in this country. Because without it, no one grows. Everybody says Trump has done this, Trump has done that. The truth is that Trump loves his America, I don't know whether I'm one of his fans, but you have to give him his due. You must be a country first sort of person. I remember 1960, October 1. The green, white, green. My mother tied a wrapper on my, we didn't have shirts and shorts to wear. But we were really proud that day. That zeal, where has it gone? What has happened to it? Nigeria was. Nigeria still can be. It depends on you and me. That's it. And that reminds me, the National Orientation Agency said somewhere that they are really happy about the kind of support coming from the president.
Yes.
When you reintroduce values, when you call people to who we have always been, who we are, whom we ought to continue being, it is at the doorstep of the National Orientation Agency. When I was sitting here, I kept asking, where is NOA? Where is NOA? Values are dropping in this country. It is the National Orientation Agency that is charged with telling people who we are, because many of us are straying away from our Nigerianness.
The NOA really, in recent times, have actually been alive to its responsibility.
That's a good one.
They have come up with the values charter, I think about 8 points or so. And then if you see the kind of jingles they have on air, they're actually, in fact, there's one that talks about Nigeria happened to me in a positive light. I mean, just to change the negative.
Contradict what these other people are saying.
And all. And then, I mean, I just hope that we can sustain it.
Thank you.
Over time, of course, the narrative will change.
Let them contract me. I'll script a few lines for them that I'm not going to charge them.
You're not a contract chaser.
I'm a contract chaser. Okay. There's this other one you mentioned, which I would like to also speak to. Which one was it again? Oh God, it's okay. The pension thing. 758 billion naira bond to clear long-standing pension liabilities. That's from the federal government.
Yeah.
And I say that is a very good step forward. I don't like a situation where a man will serve and serve and serve. They go home and they begin to listen to empty promises concerning what is rightly theirs.
Yes.
Actually, one of the reasons people open up companies in this country and don't pay their staff for about 3 months, 6 months, and nothing happens. You know, I am well versed in this, in my sojourn through 8 TV stations, so I know what I'm talking about. One of the reasons is that people don't get penalized. In the U.S., how can you owe people for more than 2 months? They are going to fold you up and then pay off the people you owe. You don't even try it, you know. So that should also concern pensions. You don't withhold people's pensions.
Exactly.
You don't. Let us make it a law that you don't withhold people's pensions. Whatever it takes, make sure these people get their money. Some of them are dead anyway. Some of them would even die. Please, I'm not a messenger of death. Some of them might not make it to when the El Dorado that is being intoned there is going to happen. Let us have a heart.
Honestly, a worker is worthy of his wages. I think it's a crime. It's a crime against God and humanity not to pay someone who has worked for you.
That's it, my dear. And the other one is Pencom is saying that you have the assets
has hit 25 trillion naira.
25 trillion, not billion. So the question you ask now is it just they're getting interest on the monies being warehoused by the different pension managers? Or is there something extra that can go to the recipient of pension eventually? You know? What kind of value can be added? Because the money we are talking about is really huge and all that. What amount of it can percolate down to the receiver of pension. The pensioners. We should keep thinking that way.
Now that you mentioned pension, I remember seeing police pensioners with their, banner in front of the National Assembly yesterday.
That's it. Well, that's what I'm talking about.
I've been asked to send you home, but Natasha invites Akpabio, others for project inauguration.
Why would you bring up that story,
Did you expect them to quarrel forever?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Some kind of fencemen did. Wait a minute. I was never one of those. I'm the strict kind of journalist. I never got into the gossip about Natasha and Akpabio. Actually, I said the 2 officers, maybe we should have penalized them for bringing things I thought were trivialities onto a Senate, whatever. But thank God they've settled it. Hamas sometimes nods. The best make mistakes, so let's not take it out on them forever. But the point is, there has to be a rapprochement, there has to be a coming together, there has to be peacemaking, fence mending at a stage in people's lives.
For the sake of the nation.
So let us encourage them, please, so that they can at least work together.
Of course, we're looking forward to that, and we hope that the Senate President
on us. You deserve a great weekend.
Oh, I do?
Please go get one.
Did I speak a lot of grammar?
We'll see you again on Monday.
Bye-bye, guys.
All right. We'll return for the conversation proper after this break. Please do stay with us.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, the land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, we stand down in demand, we make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Education is unique, we have more than the solution.
We are Nigeria, strengthening unity, we know they carry life. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Confidence is important in life's little moments. Strong teeth can help, even if they get her into trouble sometimes. A great smile is useful to break the ice, and making friends is easier when you know you have fresh breath. I give my family confidence with Pepsodent Triple Protection 123. Its antibacterial action formula gives them cavity protection, white teeth, and fresh breath. The confidence of 3 toothpaste in 1. Pepsodent Triple Protection 123.
Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja. The city is moving. New voices, heavy drip, all heart. From the streets to the stage, this is the next Afrobeat star.
Yo! What are we here for? Let's Afrobeat star! Let's get nasty!
And the talents from all over showed up to own the room. But they're not alone.
Spiritual. Gospel.
All chasing a slot to face the judges. Puffy T, SARS, Andre Vibes, P Pride. Catch next Afrobeat star on
Nevertheless, we must come to terms with existential reputational threats to our national brand, in which external purveyors of untruths are mischaracterizing our nation as a destination for a so-called persecution of people based on their religious faith. This is a propaganda externally woven by those who want to break or weaken our unity. For the upteenth time, I'm emphatic that there is no iota of truth in the communication that is out there, that there is a deliberate, calculated effort where one particular religion is targeted for extermination. I therefore urge us to use the instruments of public relations crafted in truths and facts to vehemently reject this single despicable narrative about Nigeria. It is incumbent on all of us to unite in a voice that will ensure that Nigeria is indeed a country that is anchored on the freedom for everyone to practice his or her religion. In any case, that is what our Constitution stipulates.
Welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. And just before we begin our conversation this morning, which is on investment models in health, manufacturing and financing, let's quickly take a look at this background report put together by our correspondent, Tokwe Alabi.
Investing in the local manufacturing of health supplies is critical for building strong health systems that can deliver quality care, and governments are always eager to see this happen. The main methods of financing health care include the National Health Insurance System, general revenue, community-based insurance, public-private partnerships, PPP, and out-of-pocket payments. Over 70% of medicines in Nigeria are imported, while the country's pharmaceutical market grows at over 9% annually on a 79.4% revenue increase between 2018 and 2023, with medicine accounting for perhaps $4.5 billion within Nigeria's total healthcare spending of $10 billion. Out-of-pocket expenditure is as high as 62% of total healthcare expenditure, mainly due to limited access to health insurance. insurance. The need to strengthen Nigeria's healthcare manufacturing ecosystem gave birth to the Nigeria EU Health Investment Forum themed Made in Nigeria, Made for Health. Key contracts signed are initiatives on manufacturing and access to vaccines, medicines, and health technologies, sexual and reproductive health, and rights to expand access to reproductive and maternal health products, and PIVAC, Bayer AG, and Cromedics Pharmaceuticals Limited formalized partnership to position Nigeria as a hub for pharmaceutical innovation, manufacturing, and health sovereignty on the African continent. Under the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigeria Agenda 2050, which represents the nation's perspective plan, highlights the need to attract investments of at least $100 billion per annum, with about 86% of it coming from the private sector to grow the economy and provide inclusivity. Through the Presidential Initiative for Unlocking Healthcare Value Chain, PIVAC, Nigeria has also set an ambitious target of 70% of local pharmaceutical production by 2030. While the policy showcase deal signing sessions and innovation-focused discussions on sustainability, resilience, and equity in healthcare are apt, considering their prominence at the forum. The question is, how will these partnerships translate to productive collaborations in Nigeria's health system? And will every Nigerian, regardless of status or location, have access to affordable and quality healthcare delivery? These, among other pertinent issues, are what our seated guests will be discussing on Good Morning Nigeria.
All right, many thanks, Tope Alabi, for that background report. And now, joining us to discuss this topic, let me make welcome here in the studio the European Union delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS Head of Cooperation, Massimo De Luca. A pleasure to welcome you again to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning, Victor.
All right, also here with us is Jaap van Bisten, Country Manager Nigeria and Commercial Controller, DSM Nutritional Products. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
All right, also here with us for the conversation is Olumide Lawson, PIVAC Head and Healthcare Deal Team. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
All right, great. And yes, we have a woman in our midst as one of our guests, and she's Inya Ode, health journalist. It's a pleasure to have you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Welcome.
Good morning.
All right, let me begin this conversation by going to Massimo, of course, just to give us an overview. What is this EU-Nigeria Health Investment Forum all about?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Victor. Yesterday we had the first such forum in Nigeria, and the aim of the forum was precisely to bring the public sector and the private sector together on a well-structured platform. Okay. What we are aiming at, yes, indeed, it's investment in the health sector. Investments, of course, need to produce revenue, but investments into the health sector also need to contribute to sustainable, resilient, and inclusive health systems. Now, this is why bringing the private and the public sector together is so essential, because there must be an assurance in both sides that we are all aiming at the same objectives. In fact, the public and the private sector are critical to set the vision that will foster access to medicines and access to resilient and inclusive sustainable health care to all citizens. So yesterday it was the first time that we had this structured engagement, and it was done under the auspices of PIVAC, our colleagues here represented by Olumide, and PIVAC is a very trusted public agency responsible for the creation of a pipeline of investments in the health sector, and they are very well recognized by all stakeholders. So this is what we achieved yesterday. We need a public sector to set the direction, because investment in the health sector is very sensitive. As a European Union and as investors, so we need to be sure that investments contribute to objectives and policies that government is pursuing, and this is what we achieved yesterday.
All right.
Yeah.
Great, Massimo. Thank you for your opening comment. I'd like to get to Olumide because you mentioned PVAC, and I want to understand what gap this initiative is trying to fill, and speak to us more on some of the agreements that were reached yesterday.
So thank you very much. So PVAC is actually a presidential initiative to unlock the healthcare value chain. The vision is to transform Nigeria to one of the emerging hubs when it comes to healthcare products manufacturing. And I think the main outcomes of PVAC as an initiative is three. One is increase local manufacturing of pharmaceutical products. Second is to reduce outbound medical tourism. And the third is to improve the quality and quantity of jobs in Nigeria. Now, I think one of the objectives that I think we achieved yesterday, which we're very happy about, like he said, we have a pipeline. We wanted to ensure that indeed we can provide the kind of support this pipeline needs. And I think that happened in two ways. One, in terms of technology transfer. So meeting international companies are able to come and support and give guidance to local manufacturers such that some of these products can be produced in Nigeria, I think was a major outcome. Secondly, in terms of funding, so the European Investment Bank, the European Commission has been supporting companies in Nigeria, providing, I think they have a particular pool of about 1 billion euro to support healthcare in Nigeria. So bringing that to the table and seeing how they can actually support some of these pipeline companies, I thought was a very big one. The third one, I think, is even the bringing together the various stakeholders, regulatory, public sector, private sector, to even air their views and show the challenges and the ways to address them, I thought were the major outcomes of yesterday's meeting. If a lot of the MOUs that were signed yesterday was more around ensuring that these companies can actually achieve what they want, that the problems required to ensure that there is ease of doing businesses in Nigeria are actually addressed, and PVAC is actually ensuring that we put all those things in place.
The companies that were involved in this agreement, are they Nigerian companies or?
So it's the combination. Most of them are local, international businesses that are looking to support, to invest in Nigeria and bring in those foreign investments to Nigeria to improve quality of healthcare in Nigeria. So most of them are foreign companies working with local businesses to improve healthcare in Nigeria.
All right, and these agreements, you mind shedding light on some of them?
I won't go into the details, but many of them are actually ensuring a better outcome of that entire value chain, ensuring that those three major outcomes of PVAC are addressed, especially local production of pharmaceutical products. I think what we've seen is that in Nigeria, while we've been talking about improving, we need support. This support cannot just come from internally alone, especially when there are other countries that have done this much better than we have in the past. So it's seeing how we can get support from these companies and give them the support they require to actually be able to do these businesses properly in Nigeria.
All right.
All right. Let me get to Yab. Don't tell him you told me. If he won't tell me about the agreements, will you tell us?
Well, for DSM Firmenich, we were not personally, our company was not involved directly in these agreements yesterday, so unfortunately I can't disclose on that. However, as DSM Firmenich, I can really relate with what the European Union and PVAC is doing. To reach the goals of Nigeria to be self-sufficient in healthcare products and food, etc., you need the private sector. And the private sector in Nigeria doesn't only need funding, they also need technology and knowledge, and that's where also DSM Firmenich come in. We have over 100 years of experience in innovation in food, pharma, etc. Besides innovation, besides investments, besides support from other companies, you also need a strong regulatory framework in Nigeria. That's why also the event of yesterday was very important also for us, very critical to connect with PVAC, with the European Union, but also connect with local companies. There are strong local companies that you might sometimes overlook, and events like this really help us to connect.
Yeah, why is your company interested in Nigeria?
Well, we're a global company. We're a global leader in vitamins, nutrition. And if you're a global company, you cannot miss Africa. And if you're in Africa, you cannot miss Nigeria. There's 220, 230, 250 million Nigerians that need healthy nutrition, that need the proper medicine in Nigeria. That's why we're in Nigeria. It's not easy to be in Nigeria. Like sometimes you need to do some convincing, but you cannot be a global leader and miss out on Africa, and especially Nigeria. There's a need for healthy nutrition for Nigerians.
Now, talking about healthy nutrition, I think that one of the slogans from this whole initiative is "Made in Nigeria, Made for Health," something like that, right? Mm-hmm. Now, so tell me, how is your company going to, with all that the prospects that you have in Nigeria, is it really going to be? Are you going to be using homegrown materials? Are you going to be using, our locals to do some of the things you're doing, or everything is just going to be from your country or from elsewhere? How does that add to us as a people?
I really appreciate the question, because if you talk about local production, you also need to define what part of the value chain am I producing locally. And what we provide as DS and Firmenich is the ingredients and the innovation to actually enable local companies to produce locally at a level that, especially in pharma, you require. By using our ingredients and our solutions, you can actually achieve the quality you need to then put on the stamp "proudly produced in Nigeria." The local companies can do that. We can handhold them to be more cost effective, have better quality, or even produce different types of products in Nigeria. So it's really to support local production. Of course, the ingredients itself, if you have maybe one plant producing a certain vitamin in the entire world, it's hard to put it in every country. So even in local production, you always need to define which part are we producing locally. That's right.
All right, thank you. Now, you are one of us. And by that I mean journalist.
Broadcaster, yes.
As someone who has tracked these conversations, how would you describe public perception of the government's, commitment to healthcare?
Well, I must say, as a health advocate and, broadcaster, this particular event of yesterday, the signing of the agreement, is actually very, very heartwarming. I see the Nigerian people at the center of it, and it's a lot of work that will happen after this, because the event is just one thing, but then after it, what goes on to ensure that these agreements and the MOUs and everything that was signed yesterday actually come to bear. Because I know there's a lack of trust in the Nigerian people when it comes to what government has to offer, because of what we have seen over the years. Yeah, it seems like, okay, promises are not kept, things are not done the way they should, they're supposed to. And particularly for health, health is one thing that has been kept in the background, unfortunately so, because we believe that, okay, every other thing should be sorted, but then if health is not sorted, we'll be fine at the end of the day. We'll pray and we'll be okay, right? But then health is so important. And with these agreements that have come through, I see a lot of interest and a lot of investment coming into Nigeria as it relates to promoting healthcare, promoting our pharmaceuticals here in Nigeria, promoting the local products that we have here to ensure that what we have is actually made in Nigeria and made for health. So it's pulling people and just encouraging the people to say, this is for you. This is about the Nigerian people. It's not about, people out there, but it's about us to ensure that we have the right health care that we need in Nigeria.
You've been around for a long time, in the health space, and so this is not the first time you're witnessing an event like this.
I agree with you.
Some other times it's just talk shop, and we don't really get to see, reality on the ground. What makes you think this is different?
That's why I said right now is when the work actually begins. What makes me think it's different? I think it's just that sense of hope, right? That we won't go the same way, that with the commitments that have come, particularly from our foreign partners, from government. We had the Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning there, and I heard him, I saw the commitments that he has to this, and with the push, I believe, from all the other partners and all the other stakeholders, I don't think it's going to go the same way. I do have that belief and that hope that it will be properly implemented. And and with PVAC, handling this at the forefront, I am sure that it will make a difference in the lives of the people.
Do you think, though, that the ordinary people, understand the link between local health manufacturing and national health security?
That is the link that we need to project all the time, to let them know, to let us know, our people know, that there is this very critical link, that if we do things locally, if we promote local production, we'll definitely have the benefits of it at the end of the day. So there was something someone said about encouraging people to also buy Africa, to buy Nigeria, because we have this preponderance to look elsewhere, to look abroad and get those things from abroad. But if we promote this and actually bring it out to the people to say this is important for us and this is why these are the gains that we will get from it, breaking it down to the people would make a big difference, and we'll be able to see that link, to know that we need to invest here because at the end of the day we're the ones to benefit from it.
All right, Lawson, I'd like to get to you now, because this whole thing, for it to succeed, PVAC needs to make it work, right? So I'd like you to speak to how these international investors are really going to deal with our local materials, because that is key, right? Not just totally dependent on imports and all, and also besides our resources, but human resources as well in all of this. What's the plan on ground? What is PVAC doing? What are you saying to these investors at the moment, just so that all of this favors Nigeria in every turn?
Yeah. So just before and I think that's a good question. I think generally, the healthcare narrative in Nigeria is actually changing. I think we've seen a lot more people realizing that it's no longer just lip syncing, that a lot of what the government is trying to do is actually doing. For instance, we met a company recently. There was a presidential order about zero import duties on pharmaceutical products, for instance, and we're seeing where companies are actually having clear increase in their profitability because of some of this. We've seen there's a NAFDAC ceiling list, that reduces the importation of finished products in Nigeria, and we're seeing local manufacturers seeing increase in their own demand. So I think generally the narrative is changing, and the narrative we're also sharing with the foreign investors is that you just don't come and sell to us in Nigeria. You have to handhold the local manufacturers themselves, such that over the years they can as well move forward by themselves, which is why we are so particular about technology transfer. So many of these manufacturers are actually working with local manufacturers to ensure that these products, the inputs that can be produced in Nigeria, we're ensuring that those are used. We know that we cannot produce everything yet. So the ones that are imported, we're also looking for ways of substituting them. If not, what is the long-term plan of ensuring that these products can actually be made in Nigeria for Nigerians?
All right. Let me get back to Massimo. Now, beyond financial support, what are the core objectives of this EU-ECOWAS partnership in strengthening local health systems and manufacturing capacity?
Well, can I just say a few words first on the financial support, because I think that's also important. Okay, so yesterday we signed an agreement, and that's with UNICEF in the main, and they are going to work to strengthen the value chain, to make sure that the various steps of, the distribution and production of pharmaceutical products in Nigeria complies with certain standards. Okay. I mean, pharmaceutical products are very delicate, and the value chain is very delicate. So it's not that you just bring money, bring investment. I mean, you need to bring systems.
Absolutely.
You understand? So, and this is extremely sensitive from all point of view: the cold chain, the procurement process. The procurement process is extremely critical in the health sector. If we don't know which medicines we need, which health products we need, then how can really manufacturers get down to really producing what it is required? These are not ice creams. With all respect for the ice creams, but these are extremely sensitive products and services where the government plays a critical role in setting the direction about what is going to be required, which quality is going to be enforced in Nigeria. So yes, we bring finance, but the finance is aimed at improving the systems that we have in the country. So the other side that we are covering is the research capabilities. Okay, because to develop local products, you need a strong research and let's say professional and creative, let's call it creative ecosystem. Now, in this sense, we are working with, yes, with Expertise France, which is an internationally established organization, but to work with the likes of NIPRIT, for example, which is the Nigerian Institute for Pharmaceutical Research, and establish some critical infrastructure in the research environment that can really provide that support to local manufacturers and to indigenous capabilities, as we discussed before. The other project that we signed yesterday is a regional project with specific focus on Nigeria, and it is in the area of sexual and reproductive health and rights. So, and this is also where Bayer comes in, which is the third agreement signed. On the one hand, we support policies and systems, again, in the procurement and production of services and goods that will help young women in dealing with sexual and reproductive matters. And on the other hand, here you see Bayer coming, striking an alliance, thanks to also PVAC, with a local producer to produce certain commodities in the area of sexual reproductive health for women. Of course, you know, policy direction is essential. It's very important that we understand the standards, the quality standards that we pursue, and this is why we work closely with NAFTAC. We need to know whether local production is just discounted production or it is a world-class production, and this is where we help, okay? And it's also important, as I said, that we know what the plan is to procure these goods. So the procurement process in the public-private, let's say, dimension, it's very important. So initiatives like we are having now in Nigeria, like the Medipool, you know, the pooling of purchases in order to stimulate further the local production, you know, based on a clear demand. These are very important processes where I think that Nigeria is going the right direction, and we as a partner, we want to play our role.
All right, great. I like the fact that you have mentioned women's health. That is very key and it's important. But are you looking at vaccines in all of this? Because, I mean, yeah, so speak to...
So, I mentioned the support that we are bringing with Expertise France and NIPRIT, and that's specifically also targeting to reinforcing capabilities in the in certain vaccines and specific treatments, like, I mean, Lassa fever comes is among the big ones that we are sort of looking at, but besides Lassa fever, we are looking at you know, local solutions for malaria treatment and other such processes.
All right, great, fantastic. That's a great initiative. Of course, you know, we're able to deal with a lot of issues when it comes to neonatal and maternal health with all of this. I'd like to get to you, Yap. You are like you said, your company is a global brand. I'd like you to speak to us about some of the challenges that companies like yours face when you're trying to scale up health manufacturing locally. Say using Nigeria now as an example. When you look at the ecosystem, what are the challenges that you see, and how can this initiative work to help you deal with that?
Thank you. To really achieve the goals for Nigeria, indeed, the private sector need to step up. However, there's a lot of challenges in the ecosystem, like you mentioned. And one thing Massimo just mentioned, especially in healthcare and pharma, quality has to be, you cannot cut corners. It has to be 100% correct, not 99.9, 100%. During our stay in Nigeria, in the last few years, I've visited a lot of pharmaceutical companies. Some of them really are trying to do the right thing. But they can only do the right thing, and the right thing means that your facility needs to be top-notch. Your people, your staff needs to be top-notch. However, to reach that stage, you need a lot of technology, you need a lot of innovation. On top of that, business can only exist if there's demand. And the easy way out would be, we would just want offtake, we want someone just to buy. Then you don't have a proper market for healthcare. The demand can only be there if you also ensure that the market itself is properly regulated, that also that the market, that the regulators demand 100% proper healthcare materials and medicine. Because currently in the market you see, unfortunately, counterfeit medicine. You see unregistered medicine. So you have very strong-minded Nigerian investors that we want to work with that set up a plant in Nigeria. And it pains me when you enter a pharmacy somewhere and you see, like, this is not from Nigeria and it doesn't have a proper NAFDAC number. What is it doing in the pharmacy? And it hurts two ways. It hurts the company. And every company has many people working for the company. And every job means a family, means children going to school, means children having food, means empowerment. And on the other hand, if you are in need, because if you need medicine, you're already a fragile human being, and you take medicine that is not proper, you can't rely on it, and it claims to be Nigerian, it also hurts the trust, and it hurts the person involved, and it is detrimental for the families involved. So we need strong regulatory framework. So I'm really happy with what PFAC is trying, and not just trying, also doing. We need proper regulatory input from the regulators. For example, in pharma, for us it's very important that our ingredients in pharma are held to pharma standards. You can't just say, it's a similar ingredient and go somewhere else, keep the same standards. No, it has to be pharma standard. That has different requirements for the production facilities, with airlocks and all kinds of other highly innovative items in the factory. So it's really related to demand is there, but it's the supply is coming from the wrong locations, unregistered and counterfeit. We need strong regulations, and also for smaller parties that maybe want to focus on one medicine or one specialized equipment, the cost for even GMP is significant. It's a lot.
By the way, your company is a global brand, but it's foreign. And I'm wondering, how does it tie into the broader agenda of making Nigeria self-sufficient when it comes to healthcare manufacturing?
That's a very, very fair question. Of course, we're a foreign brand, but we're also a global brand. So we are present all over the world. So yes, we have a head office in Switzerland, a head office in the Netherlands, but we are a global company. So also if we set up a plant or if we work together with a partner, because we aim to work together with local manufacturers, they need the tech transfers. We can provide help with tech transfers. We can handhold them. That's where we also can participate in the EU. But it's really aimed for local production. So if there's funding, we are not looking for funding. Funding should go to the local manufacturers that we can come in to handhold or advise or improve the quality of their products.
Yeah, but I'd like to stay with you. You know, some critics would say that Nigeria's market is attractive but risky for investors. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
It's very risky, and normally if you go into a high-risk investment, you want high return. And I think the high return, that's where the challenge is. Yes, it's risky, and it's risky because of, I think, Nigeria has high potential, but it's risky in many ways. That's security, electricity. But also the regulatory framework needs to be stable. Currently, I feel, from our perspective, I feel we're in a stable state for the last 2 years. That is very good for business. However, how sure are we that also, if we work with a local partner that sets up a plant, there's years of preparation going through before you put an investment down to start a production facility. You need some assurance that when you then start producing the medicine that government is also asking you to do, that there's still demand, that the demand is not taken up by unregistered products. So you need to also assurance from the government that we are closing the borders for unregistered products. We are really supporting, not always with money, supporting proudly produced in Nigeria. Only then you can have long-term investments, and only then we can assist the local manufacturers.
All right, many thanks. Just let our viewers know that they can participate in this program by sending their comments and questions, if you like suggestions, to the number on the screen. Would take them, either you send an SMS or a WhatsApp message. Please do not call, and of course our guest here would deal with them. I'd like to get to Inya now. All of this looking very good on paper, looking good as it's being said, but of course reality is what what a lot of Nigerians are looking forward to. But speak to us, what policies do you think we need at this point? I mean, you're vast in health. I mean, over the years, you've covered the sector. What should government really be looking at? Because this is a great initiative from PBAC, really. But what other policies do you think need to be in place, considering some of the challenges that Yap has talked about?
I think he has stated it all. Regulation and ensuring that health is actually a priority for the people. Because a good friend of mine, Dr. Ifeanyi Nsofo, said some years ago, without health, we have nothing. And if we begin to understand that, and if we make the people truly understand that without health, we actually have nothing, then we'll do more for the health sector. We'll do more in the health sector. Just as Yap said, I mean, there's just so much proliferation of fake products, of substandard products, and quite a lot of challenging things, we're going through. But if we regulate properly, if we ensure that the right things, quality things, get to the people, then I think that trust deficit would actually be closed. The gap would be closed. But where, there is a lot of proliferation, smuggling comes into it. I mean, people just bring in whatever it is through the borders, and there is no proper registration and proper regulation, then we would actually have lots and lots of issues. So regulation is very, very key in the health sector, just to ensure that what the people need gets to them. That's one of the things that we need to. Universal health coverage is also a very big issue. And it's one of the things that actually came up yesterday, in the conversation, where we're like, we need to get universal health coverage right. I mean, yes, we've tried. There's a lot of efforts being put into it. But if it's not properly done, and if it's not properly accomplished, so that the people actually get benefit from healthcare, then we'll just keep going round and round in circles. So that's one thing that we need to get right as a people in government, and of course for the people.
But what role do you think the people can play in all of this? Because, I mean, you're talking about substandard and all that. People know, and they just patronize because maybe, I don't know,
that is what is available, because that is what is available, because that is what they see, because that is what they have, and that is what is cost effective, right? So unfortunately, that is the situation that we face, because, I mean, you go to hospitals, they say, okay, so this one, or go to a pharmacy and say, okay, this is this is that. This one is higher than this because this is a branded product, and this is, we have all those. I'm sure you've experienced that as well. Sure. And it's a big problem. But why don't we have that standard across board to ensure that what you are getting is the right product, is the one that is efficacious and would make a difference for you and get you out of that that health challenge that you're going through. So, heightening the people's understanding, our people's understanding to say, look, we need to get it right. But I think it's a top-down effect. We get it right where health coverage is concerned, where products are concerned, and then the people will actually get benefit for it at the end of the day. Because, I mean, we have a huge antimicrobial resistance going on right now. People are taking antibiotics over and over again, and they're getting resistant to it, and it's posing problems later on. So, and that's just because, you try one, and okay, it doesn't work. Then you try another one, and you now become resistant to the one that should be efficacious to you.
But do you think we can deal with this problem if we do not get quacks in terms of medical professionals out of the way?
that's a problem. I don't even know how to begin to deal with that. But I think it's a systemic. I think somebody mentioned systems, and it's a systemic thing that we need to deal with. We have quacks everywhere, and they are there because again, they are the cheaper ones that people want to go to, and that have the products in quote that the people want. But where we regulate properly, whether it's from the medical aspect, pharmaceuticals, we regulate the system properly, I don't think we'll have that proliferation and that problem. So regulation is key. Yeah.
All right, let me get to Mr. Lawson. And I'm asking, it's been quite visible recently, the presidential initiative, but what specific investment models is PVAC championing itself to attract private sector participation in all of this?
Okay, so let me put it in front there that so PVAC, we don't have funding. We don't have cash. So what we do is basically to coordinate with.
You have advocacy.
Yes, we do. Yeah, so I'm going somewhere. So in terms of, we have a very, very strong and definite investment model. On one hand, we work with the pipeline companies, the potential investments, understanding their challenges, understanding what they need, even in terms of is it equity, is it debt. On the other hand, we have about 7 to 8 of those development financial institutions, each of them with different needs. So what we do basically is to understand the needs of the people in terms of funding, and then match them more like a marriage with the potential investment opportunities that basically suits their needs, So we also do the whole midwifery, so to speak, structure, so that we can ensure that they get the kind of funding at the best rates that they can. So basically, that's what we do, just to ensure that people actually get the kind of funding they require in a manner that suits their business. We also know that when it comes to healthcare, pharmaceutical products, you need some level of patient capital. So it's understanding how do you get that kind of patient capital for these guys so that they can actually meet their needs. So that basically
now you don't have finance, but finance is one of the biggest hurdles.
Yes.
So what particular strategies is PVAC adopted, to create incentives for both local and, would-be foreign investors?
Absolutely, thank you. So while I said we don't have finance, we actually have access to a lot of finance. You may be aware of it earlier last year.
You have access to it, but
you don't have it.
Yes, in the sense that, earlier last year, so PVAC signed an MOU with Afrexim Bank, like I mentioned earlier, where Afrexim has indicated that they are willing to support Nigerian businesses up to $1 billion. We have something similar with EIB as well, like quite a few other institutions like that, where they've said that where they are good investment opportunities in Nigeria, they will actually invest. So what we do basically is working with these companies to see how we can present these Nigerian businesses such that these potential investors see them and see how they can actually support them. So while we don't have the funding in our pockets, but we can help these companies to actually present their businesses in a commercially viable way for these investors to actually be able to understand where the value is and then buy into the business.
All right. Many thanks, Lawson. I'd like to get to you, Massimo. Great initiative by the EU, by the way. Great support, partnership, and all with PVAC and the research companies you talked about and all and everything. But Ian made a point about affordability. We could do all of this, right? Get these quality standard products out there, but if the average Nigerian can't afford it, it's just it's just going to be in the shelves, right? We have good medicine, but they rather go for the bad one. So is there anything that the EU is doing with the government just so that we can make it affordable for Nigerians? And also another main topic is to reduce out-of-pocket spending for health for many Nigerians.
Yeah. Look, of course, there are several experiences around the world about you can really improve access to medicines and healthcare generally. Okay, and I think that maybe for today it would be a bit difficult to go through all the examples that exist. I think that Nigeria indeed needs to find a bit, the square where they want to position themselves on issues like universal insurance. insurance, health insurance. We started somehow in Nigeria with health insurance, but it is a halfway, half-baked, with all respect, but we don't know really where we are going. But these are also issues where we are, in fact, committed to exchanging with Nigeria, advising when we are asked, and improve matters. When it comes to the issue specifically about affordability of drugs, yesterday there was a lot of discussion about the net impact of local investment. Local investment, when it happens in the right way, will bring cost of medicines down. I mean, this is the general wisdom. I know that in Nigeria we have big challenges with the energy cost and other input costs, but there is a lot of process, a lot of input costs that can actually be reduced. Having said that, there is also something to bear in mind. The health sector and the production of the health sector all around the world is not necessarily fair. Meaning that sometimes you get cheap drugs into Nigeria, like vaccines. Vaccines have been heavily subsidized for good reasons around the world, and to make them affordable and made in Nigeria requires some level of intervention. And this is why through the Africa Vaccine Manufacturing Alliance that is being promoted by the African Union, we support Africa also to see at ways where Africa could subsidize the production of vaccines and the cost of vaccines. Okay, there could be issues also of subsidy, but first of all, to make them accessible. Secondly, to make sure that after all the local production is sustainable, because if you compete always with products which are subsidized abroad, then it's very difficult to be sustainable and affordable in Nigeria. Now, cost of production is a certain issue, as I said, but the demand side, I mean, to be able to manage the demand of medicine in an intelligent way so that you can procure the medicines with a strong arm, because I mean you can really on one hand make sure that those drugs are required, on the other hand you can negotiate a fair price. Okay, that's an area where a lot could be done. I mean, to give certainty to the local demand of drugs, that could really bring the cost of drugs down. And this is what the government is pursuing with the Medipool, for example, and beyond, of course, let's also work together to make sure that other inputs like the energy cost, like the transportation cost, the cold chain cost go down, because we know that a lot needs to be done in Nigeria to make sure that the cost, the final cost to consumer can actually go down.
All right, thank you very much. I was just wondering what, and I'm taking that to YAP, what role private-public partnerships should play in transforming Nigeria's healthcare supply chain, and that is from production to distribution and then access.
Well, business itself is very resilient. So if there's a clear playing field, business will thrive. So it has to be together with the public sector, because exactly what Massimo is mentioning, there's a lot. It's normally, if you produce locally, the product should be more available, prices should go down in a normal way.
Regardless of the cost of production?
Of course, there's cost of production.
But he's talked about energy.
I'm getting there, because indeed, if you produce it here or over there, it's always cheaper here because you don't have transport. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, there is a lot of additional costs that we need government also to tackle, which is the electricity cost, clean water, roads. They exist on the map, but not always in practice. And I believe if you even improve as a government the infrastructure, not only the healthcare benefits from it, it's just daily lives. Then the normal people in the streets, they benefit. If their own input costs for even NEPA goes down, they have more money to buy food, buy medicine. So we really need to look at the demand side in Nigeria, and the demand side can go up if you also tackle, if we need help, if we get help from the government to really work on the regulatory, improve infrastructure, then the cost can come down. And then ultimately, ideally, local production will bring costs down, make it more affordable. That's ideal. That's what we should work on. But we need the partnership.
Many thanks, Yap. Inya, I'll get back to you, and I would like you to speak about how we can communicate health better to Nigerians. Information is key, really, in dealing with health issues. I mean, you want to talk about prevention, whatever it is, really, health, you need to be able to communicate to the people. What should we really be doing in that space in terms of, I'm talking about now the media, the health sector itself, just so that the right information trickles down to those who really need it, like in the rural areas. Now, this is a great conversation, right? All of this comes out. The people in the hinterlands don't even know what's happening. They stick with their old systems. They continue to take their agbo and all kinds of things, and we're losing lives. Mothers, babies are being affected on a daily basis. How can we communicate health better? What would be your recommendation, really, in that regard?
Well, I think it's just communicating it in simple language, not the highfalutin, language up there, but in very basic language, to ensure that the people understand that this is for me and this benefits me at the end of the day. Whatever language it is. Really, whatever language it is. So, I mean, it's for us as media practitioners, as advocates at whatever level, whether it's on social media or the legacy media, whatever medium it is that we're using, to ensure that we pass this message on to the people, to make it easier for people to understand the benefits of whatever initiatives or partnerships that are coming into the country, or that people are bringing in, the investments that are coming in. Because if we don't break it down, sometimes people just they don't have the patience to go through the entire story. So we must break it down to make sure that people understand that this will benefit you at the end of the day. And while the issues are going on, and while that you mentioned Agbo, and that's another story entirely, because if you don't make, if the people understand, if the people are well educated and understand that this product you're taking, you don't know the composition of it, you don't understand, you don't know what is in it exactly. So, some herbs and all of that, but what danger does it cause you later to your kidneys, to your liver, and all of that? That ripple effect needs to be seen. That ripple effect needs to be said to the people so they understand. So I said, like I said, it's just basic language, so people understand that there are ripple.
Responsibility, really. I'm thinking, because
it's every one of us. Really, at whatever level. You can use your social media page to preach that. You can use TV. I mean, we're doing this now. We use radio. We use whatever means possible. Face-to-face interactions, community meetings. We have community meetings, and sometimes it's just all about drinking and eating, and that's it, and we go away. But how about using those levels of interaction? It's at whatever level it is, those levels of interaction, to also preach health, to also talk about health, because truly, without health, we are nothing. And if we talk about the dangers of some of the products that we take, the harmful effects of it, I think it will be a way of getting this message on. So every one of us, we should all be health advocates wherever it is that we find ourselves. Because
you just mentioned community meetings, and these days we're beginning to see a lot of festivals go viral, and I'm thinking that, well, maybe health should be incorporated in such festivals. I mean, for every festival you're having, there should be a health message that is being passed or something.
I completely and totally agree with you, because this is because we have not really prioritized health. Like I said, we pray a lot, and then you think that whatever is wrong with you, we'll just pray about it and then we are fine. But it could be something that you actually need medicine for. So yes, we're praying, but then at the same time you're taking your medication, and you get better at the end of the day. So health advocacy needs to be priority for every individual, seriously, because when you actually go down, then you go down. So without health, we have nothing. Yeah.
Now, one of the major goals of this forum is sexual and reproductive health, and I'm wondering, how can investment models in health manufacturing address gender and equity gaps in healthcare delivery.
And that is one major thing that actually came out yesterday, because there was a question that came up from someone who talked about, people with disabilities, for instance, and how, the access and the affordability to these products and all of that. And one of the points is this is something that really needs to be harnessed. This is something that needs to be invested in again, to say, okay, so maybe we've not really thought about this area very much, and we need to plug in a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas to see how women, how those with disabilities, how vulnerable and underserved people can actually gain access and to these products that are coming in. Because, yes, there are lots and lots of things lots and lots of gaps that need to be closed at this point. And I think that's where the work begins with what happened yesterday. So what happened yesterday was ceremonial. But right now the work begins to say, okay, so what did we miss out? What are those gaps that we need to close?
Who drives that?
Pardon?
Who drives that?
Oh,
the work begins.
Yes, the work begins. So there are various partners here. I mean, just as has been established, there are various partners. The Nigerian government is definitely one of those partners. So all those stakeholders and all those partners coming in together to say, what did we miss and how can we close the gaps that have been observed? Because there were some gaps observed yesterday. Yeah.
All right, many thanks. Let's get to Olumide. This is really brilliant, honestly, and I'm sure that for a lot of viewers hearing about this, they'll be excited. But, implementation and sustainability are terms that we don't practice, right, as much as we should. I like it because you said this is a presidential initiative, right, under this administration. Yeah. So what is the plan for sustainability, just so that it transcends this administration? I mean, just imagine, say, 2027 or maybe 2031. I mean, a different government comes in place. How are we able to sustain this, just so that, it benefits Nigerians in the long run?
Thank you very much. That's what I was just speaking about it a few minutes ago. So I think the way we set up PVAC is that irrespective of the direction of government, the value of what we're doing will actually transcend the time. And then working with international parties, development institutions and co, I think it helps people to realize that, okay, this thing actually has the actual value that is bringing to the Nigerian people. And I think even more importantly, the fact that we're actually gathering people around, and like he said earlier, they are seeing the successes that PVAC is actually making. We know we can't do everything, but the few things that we are identifying that are the major challenges and actually working very, very closely with the different parties to ensure we close on them, I think is bringing this level of credibility that people are seeing not only to PVAC but to the healthcare space itself. So I think what we are doing of almost removing the, in quote, political side of what we are doing and then harnessing the political will that we are seeing in this space and using to bring value to the people. I think people will begin to see that this actually is bringing value, that irrespective of any change in government, this will probably continue.
All right,
probably.
Well, nobody knows tomorrow, but we're quite confident.
Thank you. Before we get to our break, I guess we just take a couple of feedback from our viewers. I have a couple here, and this one reads, "Good morning. While the initiative is commendable, investments in Nigeria's health sector should prioritize harnessing internal resources, as reliance on foreign sources is not sustainable in the long run." And that's from Kasim Umar from Kanu. This one reads, "Health investment is a critical issue that requires deep thoughts in standards and proper regulations. My question is, if the materials are to be locally sourced and local producers are going to be encouraged, what is the assurance that it will be sustained? Second, if issues of counterpart funding is involved and it is time-bound, what's being done to such arrangements at this beginning to protect a fall when the time expires?" I don't know who wants to take a shot at that.
So I can address a few of them. So I think when it comes to local inputs, I think we're going to get there. Right now, we know that the healthcare manufacturing in Nigeria is still in a rather nascent position. You know, I think over the years, we're going to see more with R&D and co. We'll see where many of these inputs are able to be produced in Nigeria. But I think between then and now, we need foreign companies, the large ones, that can actually bring that technology in, so that many Nigerian businesses, manufacturers can actually leverage on all the hard work that these larger companies have done. Now, in terms of funding, you know, I think one of the things that we're trying to do, like I said earlier, is to find a way to get people the kind of funding they require. So if you need patient capital, we'll not give you a 3-year loan. You know, to understand what kind of institutions can give the kind of funding that is required for healthcare. You know, is it equity? Is it debt? Is it a combination of that? So it's working with these companies to understand what they really need and what works, what will work for them. You know, and I think that we've been seeing a lot of that. We've seen a lot of traction. We've seen a lot of institutions that are actually supporting a lot of these local manufacturers, and we're seeing that indeed the kind of is as if financing is no longer the conventional business as usual, where you go to the bank, you get a bank loan. And I think to add to that, we're also looking at concessional rates, concessional terms rather, where we know that the typical commercial terms may be challenging for most businesses, and seeing how we can actually give them better terms such that the whole healthcare narrative and improving healthcare can actually be addressed.
All right, many thanks, Olumide. I have some questions myself that have been sent by our viewers. We expect you to send more messages, but we'll take them after the break. Please stay with us.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Are you ready? Join us on Reshaping Democracy, a groundbreaking program on the network service of the NTA, where citizens get the chance to ask ministers, heads of ministerial departments, agencies, and other top government officials questions on their performance and delivery of mandates. With no sector of limits, conversations build around bridging communication gaps for feedback and effect as our guests engage with the people they serve.
How does ND foster partnerships with organizations, government agencies, NGOs, among others?
As our leaders give account to citizens' inquiries on good governance, tune in to Reshaping Democracy, a creative concept coming up every Tuesday evening at 10:05 p.m.
This is Reshaping Democracy.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA, and our conversation is still around investment models in health, manufacturing, and financing. I'll quickly get into some of the messages that have been sent in by our viewers, and just to let you know that the number is on the screen, so you still have some time to send in your questions. Well, this one says, good morning all. I appreciate your topic for discussion today, which is investment model in health, manufacturing, and financing. I thank the panel of discussants for their brilliant and intelligent points. My concerns are about how these investments would lead to reduction in drugs prices in Nigeria and eliminate drastically the fake drugs and substandard medical equipment. May God bless Nigeria. Thanks. That's coming from Femi Olabanji from Ikorodu in Lagos. I think that has been touched on, but maybe who wants to take this?
I can take it.
Okay, all right.
So I think it's going to be a combination of the investments and then policies. You know, like I said, I think I mentioned earlier, I think what we've seen is that in addition to the investment opportunities, where the executive order, for instance, we've seen businesses that say that their costs actually reduced by 10-15% as a result of this. And again, because of the support of government, support in terms of increased demand, it increases the sales of these people as well, which brings down the cost. So I think to be over at some time, but we'll see where with increase in almost the economies of scale, so to speak, we're going to see more sales, reduce costs, and I think this would generate over the years.
Something just crossed my mind. I'm thinking that we're talking about drugs and all. This is like these are medications, right? Mm-hmm. So now, if we're talking about prevention, then we'll be talking about, say, test kits, and all of that. Is that also a part of this initiative?
So I think, as we're thinking about, when we think about healthcare, so drugs, the medicines is one, but even the technologies around it, the diagnostics tests, all of that, the disposables as well, from the syringes, so all of them is encompassed. So the idea of all of this is, how do we change that entire healthcare ecosystem? So as long as it touches on healthcare, and so as long as it touches something that can be manufactured in Nigeria that ordinarily we are importing, is something we are looking at. So absolutely, all the other areas are actually included as well.
All right, thank you. Let me get to Massimo. Now, beyond investment and infrastructure, how critical is human capital development, and we are talking research, we are talking training, we are talking technology transfer to this whole conversation?
Well, it is critical. What we are trying to achieve in Africa, it's part of an overall manufacturing, let's say, drive that we have as a European Union, that we define MAV+, it's an acronym, and we started looking really at systems, as I said, demand, supply, constraints, working on the regulatory aspect to make sure that precisely the regulation supports demand and supply and standards in the system, and we spoke about it, but then you get to the point of the human capital. Okay, and already now, even in the EU strategy for our manufacturing alliance with Africa, now talent and human capital is becoming the priority. Okay, so as a second stage of what we signed yesterday, we are already preparing a package precisely aiming at training. As you know, we already are active in the broader area of education, of internships. We spoke recently about the Jubilee Fellowship program that we have with VP. Now we are targeting really our efforts specifically to the health sector. For example, one area that we need to develop is dual education, meaning that if you are practicing, studying to become a pharmacist, a medical doctor, or just a technical level, in terms of industrial technology institute, well, you need to get a way that by spending so many months, for example, at YAP's plant, you get credits for your education. This system of dual education now, specifically in the pharma and in the health sector, does not really exist, for example. And you need to really forge this workforce to bring the manufacturing really to the next step. That's clearly a priority. We want to work on dual education. We want to work on quality assurance in the institutions that provide relevant skills. And as you know, we work broadly in the area of internships and scholarships. We have a number of instruments, but of course, that also calls for a national strategy for talent in the health sector, and we are delighted to be part of this wider discussion on talent.
All right, many thanks, Massimo. I'd like to get to you, YAP, because your company is a global brand and you deal with so many countries. I'd like you to share, some examples with us of other countries that you think that Nigeria can learn from in structuring investment in health manufacturing.
Well, I'm happy you come to me because I also wanted to comment on the health aspect. So if you permit me, because...
Please.
Sure, go ahead.
if you talk about health, it all starts at the basis, which is basic nutrition, the micronutrients. Because if pregnant women, if babies don't even get the essential micronutrients that they need to grow their body, to grow their organs, to basically prosper, then even if you come later with good education, with opportunities, if your body is not equipped because you were lacking the first 1,000 days of micronutrients, that is really detriment to the country. And if you really want to invest in GDP growth for Nigeria, we really need to enforce and make sure, and as a global company we have committed to fight hidden hunger globally, also in Nigeria. And hidden hunger is basically the concept of, and also in Nigeria, I've been in Nigeria for years, and I know we like to eat belly full and then go and rest. But belly full doesn't always mean you have the micronutrients in your body. Yeah, if you have, for example, in rice, you can eat rice. I love jollof rice, but jollof rice doesn't always have, and especially if you're at the bottom of the pyramid, you don't always have the micronutrients that you need. Maybe because you don't have the money to buy the vegetables, or just you like it the way it is. So what I also would like to comment in the Nigerian government, there are rules and regulations in place for large-scale food fortification, in flour, in sugar, hopefully also soon in rice. By doing that, you can really target all the Nigerians, no matter of where you are in the country or in the social status, that you make sure that in your flour, in your sugar, in your rice, you have the right micronutrients. With those micronutrients, that should be the basis that we can use as a country to then build on human capital, education, have conversations. Because if you're at the stage of you need medicine, you're too late. So your nutrition needs to be spot on. That's what I really would like to.
How do we guarantee, I'm sorry, Henry, how do we guarantee that local manufacturers remain competitive, of course, while maintaining the global standards of quality and then safety? Well, drawing from your experience.
From my experience is that there is a significant willingness in Nigeria, with Nigerian businessmen and businesswomen, to adhere and do the right thing, first of all, because also a sense of morality that, especially if you're in staple foods and in pharma, that you only guarantee quality. And I know in Nigeria we have proper companies that do that and are willing to do that. However, we really need the regulators to also enforce and basically kind of reward the ones that are doing the right thing. Because even in the staple food fortification, there is regulation in place, but not everyone is following the regulations. So I also know NAFDAC is doing a great job to combat that. However, there's a lack of capacity sometimes to even, you need a proper lab to test. That's where I think the government can help, or the regulators can help, to not only have regulations, but also have the capacity to do that. And as DSM Firmly, we do support the government and the Ministry of Health in capacity building. We give trainings. Last time we did a training at Sonkap to teach them how do you even test a rice kernel. And how do you guarantee that the micronutrients that we claim is in there is actually in there.
You didn't quite answer the previous question about other countries of the world that you think that Nigeria can learn from in terms of health manufacturing.
Well, as a European, I think what I really appreciate in my own country, the Netherlands, and in Europe, is that we have strong regulations. We have also, but also the capacity to test. So I think the partnership with the European Union is, I think, would be great for Nigeria. It's not only, and as a regulator, it's not only about being a policeman. Tell them, oh, you did wrong, you did wrong. It's also being a partnership. And I, from my own experience in Europe, we have a kind of a friendly government that we can work with. Even if you as a company go to the government or to the EU, we aim to be compliant, can you assist? They also help to bring you up to standards. And I think that's where I would really advise.
So are you saying our government is not friendly?
Well, sometimes there is a willingness to do the right thing, but even if you've missed the target as a local, if you have a local company, you've missed the target somewhere, doesn't mean it was by intent. Sometimes it's by a mistake or an error or an omission. So I'm not saying the Nigerian government is unfriendly. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's really what I really appreciate for my own country in the Netherlands. I feel very comfortable to share openly with the Dutch government or the European Union, and they give us feedback to come to the standards we want. And that's what I really want to commend PVAC, because exactly this is what I'm experienced with PVAC, the willingness to together reach the standard and then also see, okay, what is blocking you from reaching this standard? Is it something impractical? But not on the assumption that there's no willingness. I think that's where Nigeria could really improve on, and I think PVAC is a great example that there is a willingness to do exactly that.
All right, Inya? Yes. With the current drive towards industrialization and then job creation, how much economic value could a strong health manufacturing base add to Nigeria's GDP, for instance?
Wow. there'll be so much more to achieve and to gain from, from the right health care, from the right health. I think it actually begins from the right health-seeking behavior, and then what we have here and what is available, whether it's vaccines, whether it's medication. I mean, if a healthy people, it's a healthy nation, and if we get it right, where where these are provided, where we can have it locally, the ripple effect, as I always say, is just enormous. And then of course our GDP will be, I mean, it's just amazing what it will be. So there are a lot of links that people are not looking at, that we're not looking at, that if we get it right in health, our healthy people will be there, and then we'll be able to be productive and all that. That chain of gains is something that we are not clearly seeing, and I think it's to begin to let people know that if we get it right, then we'll see see the gains at the end of the day.
I like the rhyme, that chain of gains.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't know I rhymed.
Now, talking about chain of gains, Olumide, Nigeria is seen as the largest market in West Africa, and with this new EU-backed agreements, how can we leverage on this to position the country as a regional manufacturing hub?
Thank you very much. So I think that's where we are now.
Are we there?
I mean, that is where we are beginning. The work is just starting. I think, obviously, because of Nigeria's position, one in West Africa and Africa as a whole, I think is just to leverage on some of this traction that we are making and all this connection that we are making as well. What I've seen is that for many of these connections, they also want to see much more than just Nigeria. They want to see how the impact of this kind of relationships impacts on the region and on the country. So we're also working with them to ensure that whatever we are doing, even putting more priorities on manufacturers that are looking to support the countries within the region as well. So we're looking at Nigeria and then seeing how some of this work we are doing can impact on the region as well. So I think it's something that we're actually looking at.
You see something, I asked you earlier about sustainability, and you said this is going to transcend this administration, and all, and it's going to continue. But, speak to us about what the long-term partnership is with these companies. I mean, in the past, we used to talk about so many companies in Nigeria, but somehow something happened and they left, right? So now we're trying to bring that back, right? So what are we doing, or what's in the plan to make sure that they stay, all right? Not just stay, become bigger, and local brands, so if you like, local companies can also, benefit from such interventions.
Yeah, I think some of the agreements which is on the benefit of some of these MOUs that we are signing, I think what we've seen is that what the challenges that were in the past, we're trying to see how some of those problems are addressed and actually be able to hold even further than one administration. So many of the conversations that we're having with these foreign companies are ways that we can ensure that, one, that ease of even setting up in Nigeria, it's there. Secondly, by connecting them with even our local partners, our local manufacturers, they're almost as if Nigerians themselves have a skin in the game. So with that, we ensure that over the years, it's not a situation in which, things are not working for us, we are going out of it. It's now like, it's for us, it's all about us in Nigeria. And I think that's what we have, this whole localization, ensuring local manufacturing, ensuring partnership with these foreign partners will actually bring to bear the value of we Nigerians having a stake in these companies.
All right, from the foreign partners' perspective, and let me get to Massimo now. From the EU perspective, what would be, the critical indicators that will determine, for instance, the success of these collaborative efforts, whether in the short term or in the medium term?
Thank you. I would say, of course, the obvious one is to see how much investment can be, accrued to Nigeria. So, building on what Olu just said, I think that the macro situation of the country is very important. Okay, so now clearly we face a situation where the macroeconomic situation has stabilized, And also the same things that we could have done in the past, they are showing signs of better performance. We have a program that was not really featured widely yesterday, somehow maybe, but with Unit 8 for postpartum bleeding. Okay, postpartum bleeding, unfortunately, is still now. For a project like that, what actually we have as a KPI, key performance indicator, is precisely the local development of remedies for postpartum bleeding. Now, when we started, it looked a bit weird to think that we could really achieve something within the lifespan of a project. And yesterday we learned that actually there are already starting operations. I mean, they already started the testing of the solutions that could be implemented in Nigeria. And I think this is very much also linked to the specific moment that we are experiencing now as a country, where the macro situation has stabilized, and there is more investment looking at Nigeria with a favorable eye. Of course, so I said, investment number one, but quality of the regulatory side. We are blessed in Nigeria with overall regulatory environment which has been scored quite highly by the World Health Organization, because systems that have been put in place are solid. Okay? What we miss as a full implementation of those systems. As Yap said, the system is there, the regulations are there, the mechanisms of coordination between agencies are there, but we are yet to see really an impact in terms, for example, of counterfeited drugs. To give you an example, or the amount of testing, that is actually carried out in the country, although the whole system exists. Okay, and this is, for example, an area where through UNIDO, European Union has been active consistently, and we will continue supporting quality infrastructure. But that's again an area where we would certainly
look at postpartum bleeding. That's a very key issue. It's a cause for a lot of maternal deaths in the country. Thank you for that. We need to round off, but I'd like to get to Inya now, and I'm getting to you because I'd like to hear what your thoughts is about this. Do you think that Nigeria's this new health investment drive and all, is it a policy shift? Is it a business opportunity, or you think it's a health revolution that is taking place?
All of the above. All of the above. And, if you look at it in different directions, I mean, with government coming into it, of course, it looks like a bit of a policy shift. And then there are business opportunities as well for the investors, who are going to be investing in this. And, of course, building the people, building our local products, letting us look within, to see, yes, we do have the capacity, we do have the capabilities, we have what it takes to actually make us better. And of course, that would lead to a health revolution. So for me, it's all three packed in one. But depends on the eye that you're looking, or wherever you're standing to look at it from. But at the same time, I think it's also about letting we the people understand what we have, and that we can actually get it right. Because with this made in Nigeria, made for health, with that entire slogan, it's to let us begin to look inwards to see that we have the capacity and we can get it right. Yeah, so that's what we need to communicate to everyone.
Thanks. Yeah, your final words as we round up the conversation.
Well, I really appreciate what PFAC is doing and what we're all doing as partnerships. I think we need to also celebrate minor victories, and every minor victory will have a major impact. I think we should not give up.
Yeah.
All right, and Lawson?
I think for me, I'm very excited about the political will. There's a lot of support we are getting both within the country and from outside the country from institutions such as this. And I think we're putting all this together, we're going to see a substantial increase in local production of pharmaceutical products in Nigeria, which I think is our own vision, our hope for Nigeria, and not only it increase, but commercially viable businesses. So I like the idea, I like that, and I see that expansion in businesses. I see that policy shift to support that, and I even see that whole revolution, which we're all going to see. It might take a few months or so for the common man to see it, but I think it's going to come out, and people will realize that indeed things are changing.
And Massimo?
Well, last word on policy. I would just really let's not really give up on the need to set a clear vision about what we want to achieve. I think Nigeria deserves to be world class, to have the best policies when it comes to health. I know that it sounds unrealistic in the current situation of big challenges, but we cannot really compromise on the level of ambition that we have in the country, and we shouldn't really get anything less than what we deserve.
Fantastic. A good way to end the conversation. Yap says his favorite Nigerian meal is jollof rice. What's yours?
Me, I'm a swallow person myself.
Which do you swallow? Which one soup now?
No, me, I'm pounded yam, but not I mean, real pounded yam in the mortar.
I like that.
And then the soups, they are all fantastic.
Little wonder you returned to Nigeria because you can't get this pounded.
By the way, can you use the mortar and the pestle? Oh, really? Great. So we're going to try that after this conversation. Many thanks for joining us. It's been very interesting. I want to thank the European Union delegation to Nigeria and ECOWAS Head of Cooperation, Massimo De Luca, who is going to pound yam for us after this program. Thank you so much. It's a delight to have you again, and great work that the EU is doing in Nigeria. Yap van Bisten, Country Manager, Nigeria, and Commercial Controller, DSM Nutritional Products. Thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do. Of course, Olumide Lawson, PVAC Head, Healthcare DO Team. Thank you, and we hope that you sustain all that you're doing with PVAC. Inya Ode, health journalist. It's a pleasure to have you on set with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the honor.
All right, so that's our package this Friday. It's going to be a swell weekend. I mean, we're going to have pounded yam, served shortly. Victor, I'm Yan Ray John. Victor.
I'm Victor as well. Thank God it's Friday.